Just a short time ago, one of China's top officials weighed in on the nuclear summit and called on the UN to suspend sanctions against North Korea. Another reminder, there are many different parties looking for leverage here, and it's not just about nuclear weapons, but also about economic power in the region and around the world. Joining us now with reaction from South Korea, NBC News chief foreign correspondent Richard Engel live in Seoul. Richard, good morning. I want to ask you about something we've been talking about, which is that it appears South Korea was surprised in many ways by what came out of the summit between President Trump and Kim Jong-un, namely that the war games were going to use the president's term, the military exercises would be suspended. Did South Korea know that was coming?
Well, it appears that they did not, or not everybody knew it. We reached out for a comment from the South Korean military, and the response we were given is we're going to have to study these statements by President Trump. We're going to have to drill down into what exactly the intentions and meanings are. So clearly, the military officials that we were speaking to did not know this was coming, and we were going through official channels, which suggests that this came as a surprise to them, that they were blindsided by this. And that in itself is shocking. These military exercises are not a small matter in this country. There are roughly 30,000 U.S. troops here. Every year, they hold several military exercises with the South Korean military. I have been told by U.S. commanders and South Korean commanders that they are vital, so that the two militaries know how to work together. I was told that they had no intention of canceling them. And then suddenly today, almost as an afterthought, President Trump said, oh, yeah, by the way, we decided to cancel those exercises because, you know, they cost so much money flying in all those bombers from Guam. It's really going to save a lot of money, and then sort of moved on from there.
Richard, this is David Ignatius in Washington. You have the advantage, as always, of being on the scene. And I want to ask you about the feel in Seoul, in particular, the question of the future of the Korean Peninsula, what people sense about the desire for eventual reunification, the prospects of peace, the chance that we'll have with or without U.S. troops to safeguard the process, some pulling together of the two Koreas over time.
So President Moon Jae-in, the president of South Korea, has been pushing for these negotiations. He's really been the silent force behind this. He was the one who hosted the Pyeongchang Olympics, called them the Peace Olympics, started this process of negotiations, and he's delivered on that promise, and he's enjoying enormous popularity right now in this on the streets here. You might be able to hear behind me. There's a political rally because there are some local elections being held tomorrow, and Moon Jae-in's supporters are expected to do very, very well because there is this peace initiative. 6 months ago, people on the streets here were protesting. They were calling President Trump a warmonger. They thought that at any moment, because of the missile tests, because of all of the rhetoric that was flying from President Trump's tweets, that perhaps there was going to be a real shooting war that could start on purpose, could start by accident. Now, President Moon said, we're going to have peace talks, and those peace talks just happened. Now, where do they go from here? There's a bit of a debate. They used to talk in this country that if they could have peace with North Korea, that the wall will come down, the DMZ that separates the North and South Korea, and there'll be one country. Now they're talking more about a Europe-style confederation where you have two different governments, but both closely aligned in an economic union where there's a free flow of people and commerce, but two separate political systems. That's still far down the road if we ever get there. But right now, the peace camp is feeling quite confident.
Richard Haass here in New York, just building on that. Imagine we have a scenario where the talks don't go well. Denuclearization is clearly not going to happen. Has this South Korean government so thrown in its lot with a peace campaign that if the United States says we got to keep sanctions in place or even ratchet them up, that will create such a political problem for President Moon that there will be a crisis in U.S.-South Korean relations?
I think absolutely. He has painted himself in this corner. He has put all of his chips in the peace camp. So now, if the peace derails, he has to. I think he's going to have to make a choice. Either he sticks with the U.S. alliance, and if the peace process falls apart, that could become a hostile force, a force that is hostile toward North Korea, or he breaks with the U.S. and aligns more closely with North Korea, aligns more closely with China, with Russia. So, yes, if this goes badly, I think President Moon is going to have to make a choice and is going to have to change directions.
I guess that gives North Korea extraordinary leverage, because they now know that South Korea is almost unconditionally committed to a peace process.
Yep.
Gives them enormous leverage.
NBC's Richard Engel, thank you very much. And still ahead, a leading voice from the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. Democrat Chris Coons joins the conversation. We'll be right back.
Thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.